Hello, 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 and welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you guys have tuned in. Earlier tonight we talked about Deion Sanders and talked about a couple of other things as well. We talked about a lot of things. Deion Sanders and the situation down there with Jackson. But tonight we're just gonna, normally what we do is we have something that's called a midnight oil. But right now we're just gonna do a late night chat and talk about any topic. I'm gonna give you guys the link to the show for those who want to join in, and you can definitely come on up on the panel. It's all good, no problem at all, and just chat and just have a good time. I think we have not, and as we come closer to the end of the year, I think it's important to do that, but we haven't done it in a while. And so just make sure that when you come up, you let me know who you are, let me see you, and then you can use your avatar if you choose to, only because it's late and people may not want to be up here chit-chatting and talking or whatnot. But anyway, if you guys are coming over from one of the other channels, that's great. If you came over from Jay Prince's channel, that's awesome. That means we can keep the conversation going, right? Here's what I want to say. Based on the topic that we were chatting about this evening, I really do honestly believe that what we're doing on both sides, both male and female, is we are taking personal responsibility out of the conversation because we want to easily blame others for the things that we do wrong. That's just what I got to say. I just feel like women, sometimes when we're dating, we want to make it the guy's fault as the reason why things didn't go well, especially when it comes to, oops, I got pregnant. It's because of him that I don't have anybody to help me with these kids. It's because of him. It's not because of you. It's not because of the choice that you made. It's not because you ignored the warning signs. No. You kidding me? No, it can't be that. You couldn't have been warned and not listen? Sure, that's exactly what happened. Oftentimes we get warning signs, whether it's somebody coming to us telling us, or whether it's us feeling something within our gut, we sort of brush it off. And then the next thing you know, we got this big bad booger who's the cat that we're with, but we knew it. I'm speaking from experience. Y'all ain't gotta agree. I'm telling you the truth. Hey, D'Souza, it's absolutely the truth though. How many times have you been in a relationship and you know darn good and well it was because you decided to choose incorrectly? Nobody wants to admit that. But then there are some of us who have healed and who have grown on, and we do know that it was because we chose incorrectly. I would like to, first of all, let's take a couple of look. Let's take a gander at some of the statistics that are out there right now that tell you about broken marriages and broken relationships. I know we want to make it all the opposite sex issue. And I think that's because right now, wait a minute, let me say this. Right now, and I'm going to lay this out here. Right now, we are running this competition between men and women. And I don't know exactly where it started, but I will say that it's the enemy's decision to cause a divide. So whoever started it in the natural, I don't know. But I will tell you that it is the enemy's job to cause the divide. And so we find a lot more men now acting more feminine in that they want to blame the woman. That is my opinion. This is the Lockhart perspective. And that's the way I see it, right? You got a lot of men that want to blame the woman. You got a lot of women that want to blame the man. But the fact is that while they're courting and dating each other, everything is great. When things are going good, everything is great. It's nobody's fault. The fact that the relationship is going as good as it is because they work well together until something happens. And then they don't. The truth is, it does take two to tango. The truth is, it does take two to work something out. It takes two. It's not just on one person, barring the fact that somebody could be a crazy maniac. You got a crazy maniac, well, then obviously you're going to be dealing with somebody with some issues. And there's a lot of women that are nuts. There's a lot of men that are nuts. There's a lot of people that are normal, but we're dealing with the people who everybody gets with the wrong guy and the wrong girl. And then later they want to say, they won't listen to me. The man says, she just won't listen. And he's having a temper tantrum while he's saying she ain't listening. The dude is literally, hey, Zeb, that is so absolutely right. The two cannot walk together unless they be in agreement. That is the point right there. But I want to say this, that the crazy women, and I say this to my sons all the time, and my son, I have one of my sons who's constantly going after the women who crazy, and I know why. And this is a late night show, so if you got kids, they should already be in the bed. But the reason why the dudes run after the crazy women is because they have crazy macaroni. And and that's what they want. That is what they want. So tonight in this late night stream, I just want to continue the conversation about relationships. I do, because it appears that is on the top of everybody's head. That is on the tip of everybody's tongue, is to talk about relationships and to blame the other person. It does not have the blame game in the very beginning when everything is going good, when he is courting you and he is taking you out and he is spending on you and he is buying you all kinds of stuff. When he's buying you all kind of food, he's taking you out and he's doing everything that you want him to do. But as soon as that brother stops doing what you want him to do, now you got problems. He's disagreeable. He's controlling. He's all of this. But at the beginning, all right, when he was the lunch date, every day you could count on him for lunch. You had another cat you was using for dinner. All that time, everything was going great with him. Everything was going wonderful. But now all of a sudden, because he decides he wants to stand up for himself and he says, no, I'm not going to be able to do that one. Now he's a problem. Now he's controlling. And you see, here's the bad part. I'm going to tell you guys what the issue is. The problem is that it starts while you are dating this person. Before you guys are ever even intimate, you're telling all your friends how awesome and how wonderful he is. But now it's sort of difficult for you to go back to your friends and tell them how rotten this cat really has turned out to in your mind, because you've already built him up. So you got to make him the villain. Now he's the villain. Now he's rotten. He's awesome. He's awful. He's awful. That's because the manipulation is sown into the woman. Manipulation is sown into the woman. Plain and simple. And it's easier for her to manipulate than it is for him. That's not to say that there are no men out there that manipulate, because we all know that they do play that game. But the issue that I'm talking about is, why do the men get with the women who have the crazy macaroni and stay with them and then get upset because they cannot harness them? You're not going to be able to harness that, especially if your mind is now attached to what she brings to the table in that regard. Period. So we find a lot of young men right now who are struggling because somebody told them they were the leader. Somebody told them that they were the head. Somebody said, you are the head, you're not the tail. You are the leader, you're the man. You're supposed to be this and that, but nobody gave him the tools to actually be able to understand what relationship is. And I do put the onus on the gentleman. I do. So when you guys come up here on the panel, you can let me know what you think about it, and you can go ahead and start the conversation. But I want to tell you, that's what I believe. I believe that the young man should be the head. He should be. You cannot have two heads. That's a monster. You can't have three heads. That's a monster. So the wife, the kids, and the husband, they all can't be the head. Somebody got to be the head. I submit it should be the man. It's an easier role to sit back and be the co-pilot as it is to be the pilot any day. I would much rather be the assistant than to be the head. And so you'll find a lot of women that want to lead. And then as soon as that man decides that he wants to take his rightful role and say, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. No, that's not something that I'm willing to part with. Well, I just want it. I want this BCBG bag. I want those BCBG shoes. Or I want that Rolex watch. Or I want this and that. He's like, well, no, I don't have that. Well, now he's Mr. Disagreeable. And the only way that you're going to be able to get an audience to agree with you, madam, is by running him down. But now you got one point, and that is that you've already talked about how awesome he was and bored your friends mindlessly for the past several months. Oh, he's awesome. Oh, he's the best. Hey, Ricky. Oh, he's the best. He's just awesome. Oh, how about when they get engaged? My fiance. Oh, he's my fiance. That's all you hear. My fiance. My fiance. My fiance. That's all you hear. And then as soon as he decides, no, I'm sorry, I'm not wearing a red tux to my wedding. I'm not doing that. He's being so unreasonable. He doesn't love me. He doesn't love me. He's being unreasonable. Really? But you wanted a leader. But now because he won't do what you want him to do, now he's unreasonable. And you can't go back to your friends because you've already boosted him up. So now you got to make him the villain. And even in your heart of hearts, you know that cat ain't no villain. But now your friends can't stand him. Because honestly, your friends wanted to be you. And now they've just got a reason to dislike him. Now you got your family disliking the brother. Now you've got a problem. Why? Because you can't backtrack now, sis. You cannot backtrack. You can't go back and say he's wonderful. He's the best. He's the best. Why? Because you just trashed him after you built him up. So how do you continue to build him up when he says no? See, there used to be a time where some women would say, oh, I just love it when a man can handle me. I want him to be able to handle me because, see, I'm very strong. And if he's not strong, oh, I'm going to run over him. You wouldn't begin to understand what a true strong man was because you are so used to men doing what you say. And because you are temperamental and because you have ran amok on most of the men that are with you, anytime a man does not go along with your program, you consider him unreasonable. And that's not the guy that you want now. And so now what you do is you run around and you wreck the guy's name. You wreck his behavior. You wreck everything about him. You tell everybody he's awful. I just watched a show the other day, and it was one of those shows where they get engaged in the pod, and then they come out, and they got like 30 days, and they're going to be married or whatever. There was a girl who literally made up stuff on a man. And the boy sat there on the stage crying, and I was like, oh, Lord, this fella he literally cried. He's like, you are literally making up lies about me, he says. You're literally making up lies about me, he said. I never said any of those things. She says, oh, yes, you did. You said it all when the camera was off. Well, what they did at the end of the show, the very end, after the finale was over, they scrounged around, and by they, I mean the producers, they scrounged around and they found bits and pieces of what actually happened on one of the accounts that she claimed that he had called her fat and that he had talked about her and that he had done all these different things. They found one account. And the one account showed that she was the liar. But had it not been for that camera, that man's personality, that man's reputation, I should say, would have just been trash because they would have believed her. And that's the problem with the modern women today. The modern woman today has the ability, because of Me Too and other things, to ruin a brother's reputation. But if it was not for that camera, where they had to go and find, because it was not footage that they used in the show. It was not footage that they used in the show. Hey, Charlie. And because it wasn't footage that they used in the show, they had to go around and try to pick up, what they call it, the cutting room floor. They had to pick up stuff off the cutting room floor. And when they did, they played it at the very end. I forgot the name of the show. It's like Married, and I forgot what it is. It comes, I forgot what channel it comes. But it's a married show where they get married. They're in this little pod, and they're talking to each other, and they're like, oh, yes, I like you. I think you're going to be the one. And they fall in love inside the pod, sight unseen. And then they ask, will you marry me? The girl goes, oh, yes, okay, of course, yes, I'll marry you. And then they got to fast track. And they got to do all this stuff. They got to live together. They got to meet the family. They do all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, the link is pinned to the top, you guys, for whoever wants to come up tonight. Okay. But then what they have is the opportunity for her to meet the family and him to meet the family. And at the end of this lady tried to ruin this man's reputation. But for, hey, Maureen, married in 90 days. I think that's it. Is that it? Where they go in the pod? Yeah, I think it is. But the deal is, that is what's going on right now. You have that modern woman's mindset where she wants everything. And if she's trying to get married, sir, she's really not into you. She's into what the wedding is going to look like, what her dress is going to look like. Okay? What you are going to look like. Hence the description or the what we gave a few minutes ago dealing with the red tuxedo. He don't want to wear no red tuxedo, but now you got him all pinned up to wearing a red tuxedo. When that cat says no, oh boy, he's a problem. So I think it's important for us to remember that the most important thing, actually, I don't remember which one said no. Hey, Global. How you doing, Princess? Hey, Victim Olympics, Chief Roca. I always say Roca because I think of Almond Roca. Oops, I love Almond Roca. Anyway, I think that what happened was, I think she walked out she walked out. She walked out, and what she did left him at the altar. She walked out on him at the altar, and she rolls away. Hey, Liberty Lover. She goes away and leaves this cat at the altar. And while he is at the altar, he's like completely dumbfounded. But what she says to him in front of all of these people, his family and her family, is the way you talked about me, the way you made me feel, you made me have such a low self-esteem, you made me hate myself and loathe myself. And if it was not for that video that shows she was a liar, that man's reputation would have been ruined. He literally bawled like a baby. He was a handsome little fella too. And she was a pretty girl, but she was nuts. And you could see she was crazy. I think so. I think it is. I think it is, Maureen. But the deal was, she was crazy as a Betsy bug. Just as crazy as a Betsy bug. Aw, hi Felicia. I used to listen to this channel, but I've been super busy for the last year renovating my house. Good for you. And getting stuff out or going stuff out, plus family, working, etc. I know how that is. I know how that is. I'm just now able to do a lot more. We moved, and so we had to get a whole lot of stuff together. I know who you are. I know, Ariana. I know who you are, sis. I know who you are with your beautiful self. I still get some of your alerts. I haven't gotten one in a minute, and I think that's the situation here, is that a lot of us have not gotten a lot of alerts. And if I don't think about certain people, sometimes I totally forget about them. Are you guys going to join me tomorrow? You know, we're going to have Jacob Israel over on Headlines with a Voice, Global Optima. He's going to visit us tomorrow at 12 o'clock Central. So we're going to have a very good conversation. And I love you too, pretty girl. As you guys already know, this is Bettina's sister. This is her blood sister. And she's my sister. But yes, so tomorrow, don't forget to join us at 12 o'clock Central on Headlines with the Voice. We will be interviewing none other than Betsy Bug, you know. Yeah, she was crazy. Jacob Israel. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to interview him. I am super, super excited. And I really honestly feel that that's going to be wonderful. I'm just excited to sit down. And, you know, I think what we're doing now is just having standard conversations with folks, because it's such a relaxed way to get to know people. You know what I mean? It's a relaxed way to get to know folks, to let them share with you what they want to talk about. And maybe they can come and talk here about things that they may not have the time, because a lot of times when you have shows on your own platform, you're organizing them based on X, Y, or Z. So this gives us the opportunity to really get to know them, ask them questions, and see what they want to do. If anybody would like to join me this evening, we have the link to this show right now up at the top. It should be somewhere. Let me see if I can go over here and pin it. I'd have to go and find it. Let me see if I can pin it to the top of the chat, so that way you guys can come on up. It's just a late night chat. We're just talking about anything. But I really did want to deal with the relationship piece, because I think, I'm going to pin this right here. I think that dealing with the relationships these days, I have never heard this stuff go on and on and on like it's going on. It's just, I'm hearing people have problems with relationships, and they're talking about the same issue over and over and over and over again. And it's like, okay, but what if this? But what if that? I think a lot of times when we start to ask those questions, but what if it doesn't go like this? But what if it doesn't go like that? Is because we want stuff to go our way. And a lot of times believers can be with bad dudes, especially chicks. They can be with bad dudes, and they sort of talk themselves into staying with that guy. They talk themselves into staying with that guy. Oh, he's a nice guy. Oh, well, he's so kind. Oh, well, he did all this for me. Oh, he did all that for me. Oh, this, oh, that, all of that. That's exactly what women will do. We talk ourselves into being with a bad dude until he is going upside our head or doing something that we don't want him to do. And we don't like that, right? But we talk ourselves into being with the bad cat, and that's not cool. We really do. And then there's a lot of young ladies, especially in the church. That's absolutely right, Maureen. You know good and well that guy is no good for you just because he is a quote unquote deacon or because he is a associate pastor or whatever. You want the title, you want the name. You want to walk around in the big, Carmen Miranda fruit bowl hat. You want to walk around in the Carmen Miranda fruit bowl hat. And you want the title of being first lady, or you want the title of being the woman that he chose. And you have no idea this cat was a homosexual sleeping on all different kinds of women's couches. And you thought because he came to church smelling like cologne and all dressed up to the nines and had the big Bible and the one ring on the pinky that he was just the one. Look at him. He just loves God. Look how he's swelling out. No, he's sitting over there half asleep because he didn't get no sleep because he's a homosexual. And he was sleeping on somebody's couch and the dog next door kept barking and he's wide awake. But he can't sit there in church, so you got to nod off in church. That's what it is. The hookup culture is awful. You're absolutely right. The hookup culture is awful. Period. Aren't you glad? But look, do you know that there's people in our age category that are trying to hook up? Did you know that? They're still running around trying to hook up with their old butts. They're still trying to hook up with their old butts. And who wants that? You don't not sit. Can you believe that? An old cat running around here still trying to hook up with older women, trying to run the game. Trying to run the game. Never grow up. Sheila just said it. They never grow up. And then you got the old woman waiting at the funeral for somebody to go and hook up with the woman who just died husband. Hey, Brittany. Yeah. And that's how church people are. I have seen church people. Hey, Daryl. I have seen church people do it. Church people are the worst. You'll find a man just died, and then you got the pastor. Hey, sister, how's it going? Oh, Reverend Porkchop, how are you? I'm just here as a servant of the Lord. And I just want to help you out there, sister. Now, look here. You know that if you need anything, we down at the church, the Great Ebenezer Church of God in Christ, First AME, Holy Pinnacle Baptist Church is here for you. Oh, Reverend Porkchop. Oh, Reverend Porkchop. I'm so glad to know that. Thank you. Okay, Angela Reed, what's going on? Kazi, how's it going? Big Smish, hey. All right. Okay. It's not good to be alone. It's not good for you to be alone, sister. Come on now, Sister Smoke Hat. Come on. I sure did love that delicious potato salad you brought last week, to the wake for your husband. And I know you was a good wife for him. I think you're going to make a good wife for somebody else too. Yeah, Reverend Porkchop be pushing up. He be pushing up. Not just daisies anymore. He be pushing up. He does. Reverend Porkchop be pushing up on it. Yes, he do. He does. And the church, you're absolutely right. It's in the church too. The church is the worst because what they try to do is make it seem like everybody is all holier than thou, and there be some true show enough hoes inside the church. Hey, Drake. I'm glad you did. Thank you. Yeah. There be men hoes and women hoes. Ho, ho, ho. All Christmas long, and no matter what holiday it is, they in there. The corpse barely cold. Corpse barely cold. Hey, Auntie J, how you doing? Look at Sheila Doyle said the corpse is barely cold in the grave and his friend is moving on, the widow. Absolutely. The church people are the worst. I'm sorry. Listen, y'all know my daddy, Baptist preacher, and I done seen some stuff. I'm telling you right now. And I think that's probably what was the precursor to me deciding that, yeah, it's all right. I don't want to hang out no more like this. How you doing there, Ronald? Ronald 804. I don't know how to get everybody's name back on here anymore.
Doing well.
Something happened one day. And I lost how to get everybody's name. Let me check this banner off and see. See everybody's name. Ronald 804 and Auntie J. Hey, Auntie J. How you doing?
We're all doing well. Pastor's a good man, a good Christian man.
That's right. That's right. Back there now. I'm trying to get these headphones together. I can't get, listen, my headphones is broke. I don't know how it happened. I'm not sure if it was in the move or what, but my Shure headphones do not work. So I was looking like an old-fashioned DJ when I was on Jay Prince's show. And I had to hold one up to one ear and put the other one down. Now, I need my headphones, but I don't know why they're not working. This little piece. You know what reminds me of that scripture, talking about Bible folks, that says, not to mix different materials. They mixed metal and plastic together. And these aren't working anymore. Terrible, terrible. Anyway, come on up here, Brittany. If you want to come on up, please come on up here. I'd love to hear what you got to say. Let's see, the Lockhart perspective. Look in brand on side to see if that helps. In brand. LOL, thought you on your phone. No, they broke. So I can see you guys, but if I don't want to have any feedback, I got to go in and out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to say what I have to say, and then I'm going to let you guys talk, and I'll listen. So go on ahead, say whatever. You guys just chat, talk, anything. I don't care. I'm going to come out a little bit so y'all can hang out because these ain't working. But I can still do it. I don't care. Not that y'all know. Hey, there's the Cash App. Y'all can help me fix this. You can remedy this. Y'all can remedy this. You could just riddle me this, riddle me that, remedy this. I'm trying to fix this thing. Anyway, I can't, but I'm going to go ahead and stick it over my head like this, like Rona Barrett from back in the day. And I think only me and Auntie J know who Rona Barrett is on the panel. Do you know who Rona Barrett is, Ronald?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
And I like old school music.
You do? Okay, so old school music. Rona Barrett is actually she was the old fashioned, she was one of the first women who did all of the gossip. She was in Hollywood gossip. She was very well known back in the day. Auntie J, how have you been? Do you know who Rona Barrett is? You remember Rona Barrett? Is she there? Can she hear us? Oh, she's muted. Hold on.
Probably not.
Hold on. Auntie J. Oh, she muted herself. Got it.
I do remember her.
You remember her, right?
I do.
You remember her? But let me ask you this. Do you guys know, or have you ever seen that situation where the churches, you'll find somebody will die or the husband will die and the wife will die, and then all of a sudden out of the woodworks come all of these people that's in the church trying to get at that person's spouse. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I haven't seen that.
You have not?
No.
Oh man, how old are you, Ronald, if you don't mind me asking?
How do I look?
You look between 38 and 42.
45.
Wow, okay. Very good. So what happens is a lot of times you'll find that the churches will do that. Hey, Big Bad Bull.
Yes, they will.
To get the names back. Oh, okay. How do I get the names back? You said look at brand on the side to see if that helps. Okay, brand, and then on the side. On the side. On the side. Remove brand, delete brand. No. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. If you come up here, I'll give you admin so you could help me, Brittany, because honestly, I don't know how to do it. But I will tell you one thing, you guys. I think that a lot of times when we're looking at relationships, especially in this day and age, I think that if we just were to consider one thing, that the old way to some point really does make you match up with the person who's just like you. Because I've always said, I believe that there are letter A's, there are letter B's, there are letter C's. And in this world, we either gravitate towards the ones that's just like us, or we make a mistake and try to put squares inside of a round hole. Or we try to put triangles inside of a square. Or we try to put the A's with the B's and they don't go together. That's not how any of that works.
Well, when you said always, are you talking about when the parents put the two couples together or the two people together?
You know, I wouldn't even go back that far. I think I would just go by saying, you know, chastity is a good thing. It's nothing wrong to keep it in your pants, sir. It's nothing wrong to keep your skirt down, ma'am. Because what happens is whenever we get into the physical situation with somebody, it ends up marring our thought process. That's the reason why they say pillow talk kills. Like if you're with a person and you start being with her, all of a sudden, pillow talk will change your whole perspective on things. So I believe that right now what's going on in the society's way is that everybody and their mama is doing it the way the world says to do it. And even if you're not a believer, just keeping it to yourself will help your eyes to see who that person truly is.
Right. You don't have to say it.
Yeah, you ain't gotta say it. It's just the fact that if you just watch this person, watch their character, then you're going to understand. If you just watch them long enough, you'll see exactly who he is. You'll see exactly who she is. Okay.
You'll pick it up and die. You definitely will.
Say it again.
I said you will definitely pick it up in the by and by.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. Daryl Long, yes, that's the link up there. Yes, sir. Come on up if you guys want to go. Oh, okay. How to turn on the names. Here it is. All right, I'll go ahead and look at this article.
Miss Lockhart,
What,
do you
babe?
think the new generation? Do you think the new generation are afraid of love?
I think that this generation has been taught. Hey, Janae, I think this generation has been taught a backwards way to keep people separated. And I believe because they've been raised in this without understanding that culture has been shaping them, that media, television has shaped them, music has shaped them, all these different things. I believe that people do not feel as if they could have been duped. And they don't understand that there's been an ulterior motive all along to keep the man from the woman and to keep the woman from the man. So they believe that because it's being done with this star or that star, or these girls are trying to be like this star, these guys are trying to be like that rapper, they believe that's the norm. That's not the norm. If you just step back away from all of that and you make the common sense decisions, then you're not going to have to worry about it. You're going to say, okay, you know what? Here's the thing. I see that if I get involved with this young man, this could be a bit of a trouble. There's one young lady, that's the girl, Sherelle. Sherelle, what does she say? She's not being involved with nobody. That takes some intestinal fortitude for you to say, nope, I'm sorry. I'm not going to deal with you. I'm not dealing with nobody. Why? Because she doesn't want the struggles. But I believe that if you do start to date somebody, you really do need to vet them. And it should not be below the waist vetting. You can't vet below the waist first. That's not how any of this works. I'm going to give her some. I'm going to give him some. And then I'm going to try to control him because I gave him some. No, you do that, you're going to mess yourself up. Stay to yourself. Do it the right way, and you won't have to worry about none of that stuff. Why? Because everybody is giving it up. Everybody, nobody is taking the time to meet anybody anymore. Nobody is taking the time to know somebody anymore. That's right. Charlie just said it. Entertainment and media has programmed us.
Yeah.
And also, we've been constantly seeing a lot of bad examples now.
Yep. Like, who do you think is a bad example?
It could even be our parents.
Yes.
You know, and I've heard people before say that they're not going to get married because everybody in their family has never worked out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like, thank God my parents are still together.
How long they been married?
40 to 49 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that's something that I'm happy that I saw. So when I went through everybody in a marriage, you're going to have your storms and your dark clouds. So I knew that, I could look at them and say, you know what, there'll be a silver lining, or the sun's going to come out eventually.
Mm-hmm. That's true. 49 years, that's a whole life. That's a whole human. That's a whole lifetime. That's an adult.
I'm coming up to 20 years. I'm like, wow.
You've been married for how long? You say 20?
Next year, April 23rd.
Yeah, that's still a long time.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
What people don't understand is that you're gonna have your rough patches, and we live in this microwave society. That if you're married for 5 years, you can like throw a parade these days, because a lot of people, like when I was 19 years old, I was listening to a tape, and the preacher, he was talking about relationships, and he said after that honeymoon, you're gonna have these rough patches, because both the man and the woman's gonna be battling for who's the leader and stuff like that. So you're gonna have your rough patches. You know, and I think like I've seen so many people only last a year. You know, like have you ever like I've been on Facebook so many times where I've told somebody congratulations, and a year and a half I'm telling them congratulations on another wedding, and I didn't even know they divorced already from the first wedding.
I had that happen. I've had that happen. I actually saw one of my friends, and it was like I knew his wife, and they were congratulating him on his marriage. And I'm like, wait a minute, but they were married years ago, but I hadn't seen him in ages. But then on that thing, I see him, and he's married to another woman, and I'm looking for her page, and she's all upset, talking about how awful men are and all this other stuff. And I was like, yikes, they actually got married. They didn't make it past like the 3-year mark. I hadn't seen him in ages. But he's right. What, Auntie J?
I think I know that same couple and know they did.
Isn't that a mess? It's like, are you kidding me? I'm sitting up here looking at everybody saying congratulations on the wedding. And I'm thinking maybe they I was like, maybe they redid their vows. No, they didn't read it.
You heard that that twin lady? That lady from Sister, you heard how she said that you know, like a divorce is like a graduation. Did you hear about that?
What happened?
I forgot her name. It's Tia Marie, I think it is.
Tia Mowry.
Yeah, yeah. She said I think one of her friends told her like getting divorced is like a graduation. Yeah, I told my wife, guess what? We're gonna be some super duper seniors up in this piece. We ain't getting no divorce.
See, that's no what you're going on over here. That's what you were just saying, though, is that there's some bad examples.
Just because you want to get a divorce don't mean you have to.
Listen. Ronnie said, Sonia said, if I try to leave, I'm gonna wind up missing. That's how it's gotta be. Watchful and Alert said that they've been married for 27 years. And Flow State said their marriage only lasted 1 year. And I know that. Well, I know you glad you got out of it. If it was only gonna last a year, I'm glad you waited that year and not 10 years, to be honest with you. Yeah, but I think that the church is one of the places where you see a lot of mess, where as it relates to marriage. And I think you get a lot of misunderstanding from churches. Do you think you get a lot of misunderstanding from churches? Hey, Daryl, you think you get a lot of misunderstanding from churches?
Yeah.
Not for me. Not for me.
I think a lot of people get misunderstandings from churches. I think they get mixed messages too. I think a lot of people do. How so? How did you? What happened?
In church, right? I brought my friend to church with me, my coworker, right? He came as he was, which means he had an earring in his ear. They called him to the back about that earring in his ear. And had a problem with his earring in his ear.
I think you got your YouTube on, Auntie. Because I hear you. Every time you talk, I hear you. Is your YouTube on?
Baby, can you hear me? And the way they was trying to treat him.
I'm using a Rode mic, but my headphones broke.
And after they did that, I didn't bring him back there no more.
Oh, you never took him back after that?
Hell no, because I didn't treat him right.
But you know what? That's what they used to say back in the days, that people try to catch the fish before they try to clean the fish before they catch them.
I thought you're supposed to do that on the outside.
Yep.
It's
a road. Somebody asked, was it a road, Daryl? Yeah, it's a road.
Yeah, I had that microphone as well as one of my first ones. When I used to use that microphone, I used to set my output to my live speakers, and then when everybody when everybody is talking, I just like go on mute or whatever, and I join in. That way I don't use the headphones.
Okay, so take it and put it on put it on the computer. Let the computer hear it on the computer, right?
Because I would use my iMac here.
Okay, right? And then when you guys are talking,
you just simply mute, and you can hear us through your speakers. And then when we come back, like whenever you're ready to speak, you can just, go back on not mute.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for catching us, Miss Lockhart, over there with Jay Prince, girl.
I'm so glad you guys came over to hang out in my house because I haven't had you guys all over here. I'm so glad you guys came
thank you for saving us over there.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Because that ideology of what a woman should be, at what time, and what she's going to be called on, and if she's not that married, is all kinds of, belligerent words. At which time that when you telling your story, you don't want another woman to be like you. You want them to learn something from what you said, Because every woman at the end of the day does not win that prize of a husband.
But you know what? To tell the truth, I don't see a lot of women take accountability. I don't see a lot of women saying that, you know what? I mean, of course, if you have children, nobody's gonna say, I wish I never have these children.
Yeah.
But I don't see a lot of women taking accountability so the younger women could to learn from the older woman's mistake.
What I do, I mentor 5 of them, and I teach them step by step, and they all are they have children. But just because you have children, men say things like, well, the best part of your life is between 20 and 30, and I get it. But there's still so much more after that.
I think Auntie's going out or something.
No, it's Auntie. I can hear everybody is muted, and I can hear your YouTube in the background.
Oh yeah, my TV, my bad.
Okay, so maybe she'll be back.
All right, good.
All right.
That's something that I wanted to come up and talk about. Maybe we can have a candid conversation, because too often in the Black community, young Black boys are taught that, frankly, Black women are completely innocent in all things. And we grow up to learn that they have been implicit in all of the trauma that we deal with, right? Let me make an example, because I like being, just frank about stuff, man. A lot of mothers would tell the children, and thank God I don't deal with this, but they would tell the children, your father wasn't this, your father wasn't that, but they won't tell the children, your father had a best friend, the friend had a better job, he had a little bit more money, so I want to fuck him because he made more money. And while he was dirty macking, he would come to me and tell me about your father, just smiling at a girl, right? So a lot of stuff happened, and just to be even more personal, like for example, my brother, we found out that he had a different father from my father, but we knew this because we all look alike, and he's much taller, much darker, right? And the thing, like we were trying to tell my mom when I was growing up, because I really grew up with my dad, is it's hard to trust you because you try to lie and you try to keep a perception. Just be who you are. And I find, and that's why I don't like really talking too much. You know what I'm saying? You see me on Fight Club, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes they bring up certain stuff. I don't like even talking about it, because even the women in these spaces, they lie 24/7 to uphold a perception. And then the thing about that I don't like is we want to create a real society based on real morals, where we walking around as a perception. That's ridiculous. That's like me claiming I'm a Giants fan, right?
Congratulations.
Just to be friends with brother, right? That'd be a perception. That'd be a falsehood. That'd be me trying to manipulate you to my own end game. Can we agree to that? Right. So when they do that and they lead with that, they push it heavy, sometimes to the point where they act like it's actually true, which to me is a sign of, it's like a red flag for mental illnesses there. Denial, narcissism, et cetera, et cetera. That's the stuff that really creates trauma in Black men, distrust in Black men. And not only that, it sets a very bad standard, because if my own mother can lie to me, not just me personally, but this is how a lot of Black men talk. If my own people can treat me like this, why should I honor this woman? Why not just have sex with her, bust nut in her, get her pregnant? She a big mama now, and go on to her friend too. You get what I'm saying? And I think that, for example, I'm not gonna say nobody's name, but we was on Fight Club the other day, and they said, well, that person do this and that person do this. Now we trauma comparing. You get what I'm saying, Lady Lockhart? It becomes a cycle, a cyclical nature that's cruel and unprosperous for Black people. That's why I don't like when people even come in these spaces, or any spaces where Black people exist. If you're not going to be yourself, be honest, right? Speak your candor and keep moving. But when people try to build a perception, the way that I feel is like you're trying to manipulate me to whatever gain. Maybe it's to gain some support from Lady Lockhart against the Giants, but whatever it is, it's not good. It's usually to stir some kind of division, and I just don't like it. That's why I want to speak on. And a lot of women, they speak about what the men do, right? He was too poor to pay the bills. He was too this. He was too that. You hardly ever hear them say, "I did this," and this is why my relationship didn't work.
It's okay,
Auntie.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's all about accountability one more time, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean, go ahead,
Auntie.
Relationships, to tell the truth, even though relationships is hard work, especially marriage, it really shouldn't be that complicated. You know, it's
right.
You know, unfortunately, it's like we make it complicated. You know, it's hard for somebody to apologize. It's hard for somebody to say sorry. It's hard for somebody to say, "Oh, that was my fault." You know, and also the pride. You know, like if somebody make a mistake, you know, the other person, okay, I'm out of here. You know, it's like we're so prideful because we think that, oh, like I am too good for the other person to make a mistake, so I'm out of here. You know, and especially when you have children, you know, like people always say, well, you shouldn't stay because of the children. The children should play a part in your decision also, because you're separating the children from probably their father, or because most of the time the mother keeps the children, you know. So all of a sudden now he becomes every like a weekend dad, or, you know, a part of the summer dad, you know, half of the holidays dad, you know. And then eventually you're gonna move a new man into the house.
Here we go.
You know, and that man will want to discipline, you know, your children. And then after you have a father out there, you know, who's also being an active father. So it's really complicated. But a lot of times people don't think about all these things. You know, it's like
about me, I've always disliked hypocrisies, right? And everything you just said was completely true, right? I'd like to just illustrate it a little bit more brazen, right? When I'm in these spaces and I hear women say stuff like this, bro, and you mentioned kids, so I'm gonna specifically say women with children. Two things I hear the most, especially from you guys call them pick-me's. I think they call themselves relationship coaches or eminent coaches, whatever you want to call them. Why didn't they apply that to the man they had a child with? All the advice, right? They're not even with that man. I've heard a woman say recently that if her husband was to cheat, and she wasn't even married, but if her husband was to cheat, if only a fool would walk away from a cheater because a whole bunch of bullshit. And an actually married woman came up afterwards and said, so what you're promoting is trauma, lies, deceit, right? But this is the thing. You giving this advice, but a lot of them left their baby daddies. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy, bro. And that's the thing I don't like, is because we in this space for real solutions, not fake ones, not ones that's gonna get you views and dollars. Right?
And
if we here for real solutions to really affect people, then it gotta be real. It can't be fake.
I'll be the first. I don't like. I ran my daughter's father the fuck away from me. Yes, I did. And he's 63 now. He's still doing the same thing. You know, it was the hardest 5 years of my life. And that was the relationship that almost took me out. My first one. He was so obsessive. It was sick. It was sick. And for some young lady, at the time I'm 20, 21, 22, that could be like fun. Oh, he really loves me. But I saw it as something else. I took it as sick. And he was sick. And then he got on these drugs. And that was something I wasn't ready to handle at all. I was pregnant. I could not deal with that. And I let him know that I didn't want no part of that. But I wanted him to help me raise the baby. But the drugs was more important to him. And so what I'm going to do, I got to still have the baby. And that's pretty much how that went until I got rid of his ass. He was hard to get rid of. But yeah, I don't have no regrets about it. The only thing I wished is what I would have got child support. So, because my daughter said, Mom, I said, I didn't want child support from your dad. I can take care of you. She said, yeah, Mama, you took good care of me. But what did you think about me and child support? I said, no. He said, I could have took that money and used it for college. And in that moment, I felt bad as a parent. Yet it was nothing I could do about it because there was nothing I could do. I always thought I could take care of it by myself. And I was able to do that. So I didn't want him in my life at all.
But was it ever hard? Did you ever have like really hard times?
No. There were times that I wished her father had been the father that I met so he could help me with her. But I had to just close his ass out and do it like he wasn't there. And that's what I did. She, in fact, having a daughter taught me how to hug her. Because I didn't get hugs. I only got hugs when I was sick in my mother's house. And so I used to literally like to get sick to get a hug. And to be told I love you. I had to be sick. But my daughter didn't have to be sick for me just to hug her. And here now today we still hug every time we see each other. We used to kiss on the lips, but now she's married, I'm married, so we kiss on the cheek. But yeah, having a child was not a good experience for me. Not for me at all.
Let me ask you guys a question then. Let me ask you this because Jonesing for More had a good question. She says, Jonesing for More said, who would want a drug addict? Who would want a drug addict is the question.
Right.
Hey, Flow State, who would want a drug addict? Let me ask you something. For better or for worse, does drug addiction fall under that category for better or for worse? What is the deal breaker? What is the deal breaker?
The deal breaker in marriage is if you cheat.
My deal breaker is physical abuse. If it ever comes to physical abuse, yeah, that's the deal. That's the deal breaker for me.
And I'm not
Cheating,
gonna compete with drugs. I'm just not gonna do it.
Mine was a danger to my daughter. When she became a danger to our daughter, that was it.
Right. That's a danger to my child. I didn't want that in her life. So somebody had to make the right decision. By him being toxic and keep going to jail. It was
Was he
bad.
like that beforehand? For example, did he ever exemplify any of that before?
Never. It wasn't until he started selling them drugs and then he started using them drugs. And I saw a whole other side that I just didn't like. Like, say, like I come home from work and he'll be in my underwear drawer, smelling all my panties. That shit was weird for me. I'm like, what are you doing? And then one day I come home from work and I see a big orange cord coming from the next door neighbor's house. And I knew what that house was. And I get in the house and I immediately pull that thing out the wall. And then my daughter's father says, you can't pull that out. I told them people they could buy some electric for a little while. I said, you don't pay no electric bill here. And he was like, yeah, but I promised them. I said, I don't give a damn what you promised them. And then a knock came on the door and they got into a kerfuffle, which subsequently ended up getting my daughter's father's cousin shot. And he died. All because your ass gonna loan out something that wasn't yours. And it was bad. I had to get rid of him. He just caused so much drama and pain in my life. I could never, ever take you back. It was just hard to get rid of you.
I'm getting kind of confused. Did you say he got shot? He shot and died? I'm kind of confused.
His cousin died.
Oh, I was about to say, because I'm like, yo, wait a minute. A few minutes ago, you just got through saying he's 53 now. Now that I heard you say he's dead, I'm like, yo, wait a minute. And then...
No, he's 63 now.
Oh, okay.
And still doing the same stuff, y'all. Still doing the same stuff.
Well, you know what? I think what you just got through saying, Flow State, is a true fact. And that is, and it's something to consider. When you consider the fact that a child's safety is very important, and a mother is with that child 24/7 for the most part, unless she's, away for work or whatever. It's a dangerous thing if you have a parent, especially the mother, that is physically beating the child. It's a difference between discipline and beating, because I can only imagine a man pretty much worried constantly at the job if he's seen her exemplify some symptoms that could literally hurt the child or take them out of here. And it's not like that's not something that we don't see, because that's on the news every day. Do you guys agree with Flo that that's like hands off, we're done?
Yeah.
I don't like nobody doing that. Nobody with my daughters, not even them. Sorry, like not even their mothers. Their mothers don't put their hands on them, and that's by my decree. And it's really just something. I don't want my daughters thinking that that anybody can put their hands on them just because they're upset, right? And on top of it, as a family, what we try to do is we just really talk through our issues. And my baby, she a baby, she too, so I have no issues with her. But my older daughter and my sons, we all talk. If we have any issues, we're gonna talk it through. There's never a reason for me to punch them or hit them or nothing like that, because we just very expressive. You know what I mean? We grew up very expressive. They can talk to my they can talk to all their grandparents, because all of them still alive, thank the gods. They can talk to their aunties, my sisters. I got twin sisters. They talk to them pretty much every day, right? So to me, I think self-expression is always best, especially for young African-American children. Just learning how to talk through issues. The problem is we see so much violence, and then people in this community, they uphold the violence, especially for entertainment purposes. And that's it's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. That's why I told people, if you're not in the streets and you don't like the streets, don't use certain terms. I told Anton, I don't like bag chasers, all that other stuff, because you using the same terminology the streets do using, but then you upset about the influence that it has on the young kids.
Right.
So when they see them say bag chasers and you say bag, they're not gonna differentiate the two. They're gonna do whatever it takes to get the bag.
Right.
We gotta stop that, because listen, we just gotta set a standard. That's all I was gonna say. I don't want to switch the conversation, but ultimately you shouldn't put your hands on little girls. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here for nobody whooping their child, but at the same time, your household, your rules, B.
No,
You guys, if you're raising a child in the very beginning the correct way, and you're giving them fair and balanced discipline, that as they grow up, you'll never have to whip them. Because I have some friends right now who have very healthy children, and they've never had to discipline them, physical as in corporal punishment. And then I got some friends, and then I got some kids that if you don't whoop them, they're gonna probably whoop on you when they got older. Do you guys agree with that? I mean, because he's saying that he doesn't even allow his babies, his daughter's moms, to discipline them, right, Daryl?
No, yeah, they what we do is we put books. Like, so Leia's still the baby, but Aaliyah, we'll make her hold her hand out and hold books, right? And she would hold the books for 20, 30 minutes, you know what I'm saying? We would make her, repeat whatever the lesson is. But putting your hands on her, that's an absolute no-no. For nobody.
I agree.
You know what I mean? For nobody. Not even her grandparents, nobody.
Well, I believe there's levels in punishment, and I also believe in spare the rod, spoil the child. So everybody could do whatever. I got my butt whipped when I was young, and guess what? I'm a law-abiding citizen, married with 3 children and a wife, right? So, I mean, in today's world, yes, you don't want to be marking up your kids and your kids going to school with a bunch of marks and stuff like that. So there are times where you will talk to your children. There are times you might want to ground them. There might time you want to take away the video games or the computer. There are times also where you want to get them a couple of lashes also. So everybody could do whatever they want to do. But yeah, I try my best to talk. Sometimes that talk don't work. Sometimes they need to get the little butt whoop, because sometimes they want to listen. So like I said, everybody can do whatever.
I look back at how my mom raised us, and I'll tell you what, after a certain age, she had disciplined us so well, we had the understanding. And here's the thing, I don't think that people have this understanding anymore. And that is, I'm the child, she's the mother. Right now, I see a lot of parents that are trying to blend and become their child's friend. And that's what sort of breaks it up a little bit, because now you got this camaraderie where you've lowered yourself and now you're equal to them. And I don't see how, in any circumstance, whether it's an employee-employer relationship or even a parent to the child, I don't see how that's going to work. I can't see that ever becoming an equitable thing. I don't want to be, my mom right now, my stepmom, I respect her to the hilt. I would never be common. I would never talk to her in a common fashion because I reverence her. You know what I mean? So I don't see how that could work. But I think a lot of parents make that mistake. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I just told my son today. My son is 11 years old. I told him, I am not your friend. I'm your father. Because I asked him a question and he want to ask me back with another question. I was like, no, when I ask you a question, you give me the answer. I'm not your friend. I'm your father. So I tell him that all the time.
That's right. Because children will get it mixed up. And they really will think you're their friend. And you have to let them know sometimes. No. By the way they speak to you and certain things they do, like they might want to say, yeah, no. Who are you talking to? You're not talking to me.
You're allowed to say yeah, no. And Ronnie is like my children's like uncle. So if he ever hears them, my grandchildren, he'll hear them and he'll come through the phone and he's like, hey, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And they're like, yes, ma'am. Yes. So, sometimes because we're just doing things, he'll jump in. And I think that's important. I think that a lot of times when people don't have that masculine father figure in the house or their own birth father, it's important for the men around the young men to sort of make them accountable. Hey, wait a minute. That's not how you talk to a lady, or that's not how you talk to, your elder. You know what I mean? I think that's what's also missing. I don't think we allow other people to respectfully, especially those that we respectfully discipline our kids. Aurora Boreella 77 says, hello, Felicia. You're on at my time of the night. She says, well, this is the part I want to highlight. My kids learned to give me respect the hard way. I learned my mama could just look at us. She got us to the point where the look was all we needed. We saw that look coming. We already knew it was on or over.
Yeah, you got to start.
You know what I mean? They had a look back then, y'all, that could kill you with. Like, you knew what time it was, okay? And I promised to never give my daughter that look either. Because that's a very piercing look, Miss Lockhart, and you know it.
But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I tried that, and that's where I messed up on one of my kids in particular. Because I remember one time where I looked at one of my children like my mother did us, and that child looked back at me like that, and that child has been like that ever since. There was no spanking you could give this person. This person could take a spanking and keep on ticking. It would not matter. You would literally border child abuse if you had to whoop this child to the point to where it would affect change. And
that's child abuse.
So I just, what can I do? I'm not gonna kill the kid, but you give them the spankings and they're just sort of looking at you. You're like, what manner of demon is this?
Yeah, that's one thing. You could try to raise all your children the same way, and they all gonna have their different personalities. Some of their personalities might be, I'm just gonna test you. That's just, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But you hope that when they grow up, they learn something from you.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we don't learn early is healthy coping mechanisms.
Right.
We don't learn. So, and that's why I don't like my kids being beat on, because we can spend more time doing other stuff. If you hurting, if you feel insecure, whatever it is, we got a healthy remedy for it. And listen, I know for a fact that, especially young men, more than anything else, we use sex as a coping mechanism. That's a fact, right? Especially if you have the means to, it literally makes no sense, because we also live in a culture where your body is not honored the way it's supposed to be according to Christ. But then we got the people who already have kids, baby mamas, that would tell men they want a man of God. And we got men of God saying, I like Brittany Renner. Right? So
Daryl, I'm going to the ladies' room. Will you take over the panel for me for a couple of minutes?
Absolutely. And to me, I think that's where there's a major disconnect between young Black men. That was the disconnect for me, because when I would go to my church, listen, I'm candid, man. I'm very honest. I grew up in Detroit, on the east side, and then I got kicked out of Detroit public schools. My mom moved to Brightmoor, right on the west side of Detroit. Went to Rosedale Baptist Church. We had great people in that church. One of them, his name was Jason Wilson. He has a documentary on ESPN where he teaches young Black boys about emotional discipline. And I was a part of that program growing up. So, and I needed that program growing up. You know what I'm saying? Because I had no healthy coping mechanisms. But what I did have was a flood of girls that wanted to smash. They wanted to smoke. I always had weed. We always had liquor. We always had a car to drive, whether it was my father's or my auntie's.
Wow.
Right? So I'm telling you, auntie, this is really how it works. So they would call their friends. I'm talking about high school, college, adult. It never stopped. And even now, when I don't like even talk about certain stuff, Auntie Dave, but you see me on Fight Club and they be coming at me about a certain particular young lady. I'm not gonna mention her name here. But even with that situation, what they told me at the end of that, Auntie J, was just go get some more poom poom.
What?
Forget any feelings you might have had. Forget any love or anything like that. Forget that. She played you. You got played. Go get some more poom poom. And I'm telling niggas, I'm saying, do y'all understand how unhealthy that is?
They don't.
And how dismissing it
may have
is.
affected you. How about that? How about how it may have affected you?
Thank you, Auntie.
How about
And
that?
if a man take that advice and he go out, have raw sex with a girl, get that girl pregnant, and he never ever meant to make that woman a wife, now what's to come between that relationship? Right?
Right.
So we got a lot of broken relationships being the foundations of other new relationships. It's
And
a
you know
lot of
what else?
trauma.
You know what else I believe? I know I can't be the only one out here. And I think I said it on Jay Prince's panel, right? I can't go with percentage, but as me not knowing how to love a man in a healthy way in a relationship until I got help, I don't believe that every woman knows how to be in a healthy relationship with the man that she may love or want to love, you know? Because at the end of the day, she thinks her most valuable asset is between her legs for him. And unfortunately, that's not all he needs. He wants that, of course, but that's not all he needs. He needs more, you know? And depending on the man, you might have to cook and clean and rub him down and massage him, you know, and things of that nature. But what I found in my marriage now is that men need so much more. And I will always respect a man from now on into the rest of my life. Because once I realized that you guys were the prize, again, because when y'all go out here to go to work, not to take away us going to work, but y'all go through, we don't know what you go through in a day to get back home. Say to us, you know? And then when they come home, they want to come home to their sanctuary, away from the hoopla of what's going on outside. But if he has to come to the house, and the house is dry, and he smells no food, and it doesn't look like it's been cleaned, that's not good. All day you've been home, even if
That
you
makes a
got
man
home,
want to cheat.
right, and all day you got home before him, and you couldn't prepare that man nothing to eat. You couldn't wake him up in the morning with breakfast, even though you may have the same hours as he has. You get your ass up a little earlier and make sure your black man has food in his belly. Those type of things. And females don't want to do that no more. I don't know why. I have no clue.
Because they didn't see it. They didn't see it when they was growing up.
I saw it when I was growing up. But I wasn't going to never do it because my aunt told me, never cook for a man you don't want to keep. And that's what I did. So the other relationships that I had, I never cooked. They don't even know I can cook my ass off now. None of them. They don't know where I came from. They don't know where I grew up at. They don't know anything about me because I never told them. I would talk surface talk to them.
Well, let me ask you this, Auntie J, because what you're saying right now is, I think, and I'm just going to exegete that portion of what you just said out. And that is, he doesn't know anything about me. He doesn't know anything about my family. He doesn't, I didn't tell him. That is the piece right now that we are dealing with in society. I love the miter hat flow state.
Thank you.
That is the part that we are dealing with right now with the group of males and females that this generation has produced. They have not learned the importance of real, true relationship. See, I think what they did is they reduced the term relationship to mean only boyfriend, girlfriend. They don't understand that relationship is respect among people. Male, female, 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 male, male. And I'm not talking about male relationships. I'm saying if I am your acquaintance And say, for example, we want to learn one another. You got to have that conversation with that person to say, you know what, this person is going to grow from. This person has grown from a, somebody that I just met, an acquaintance, to now friend. And I think that's the issue. We don't understand that sometimes it's okay for the person that you end up being in a relationship and then marriage with. It's perfectly fine and absolutely acceptable for you to be that person's friend. But in order for me to call you friend, A, I got to be friendly. B, I got to know who you are and you got to know me. But we have to accept one another and be willing to accept each other for the differences that we bring to the table. And I think that's part of the problem with the situation that we're seeing right now today. They are thinking, and this young generation has it really messed up.
They do.
They're thinking, oh, well, you're pregnant. You ask her. Ask the young lady, you're pregnant. Yeah, well, what's his name, Bobo? What's Bobo's real name?
I don't know.
I mean, it's just Bobo. You don't even know this person.
Why
It doesn't matter
Bobo
whether they're white, black, purple, or yellow. What they've done now is society is taking a paintbrush and they've just painted all youth the same exact color. And all youth are behaving the exact same way. Now, a few years ago, we had President Trump decide that he did not want, for whatever the reason was, whatever the true reason was, I don't know the backstory, I can imagine. He didn't want TikTok around. People just did not understand why he didn't want TikTok around. And now TikTok is the death of our youth. TikTok is able to tell these young people what a relationship is. You got 12 and 13-year-old kids saying, I got a boyfriend, I got a girlfriend, and they are thinking that boyfriend, girlfriend equals sex because society, TikTok, other forms of media have told them that's what relationship is. What is the problem now where we can't just learn a person for who they are? That's the issue. That's what I was saying earlier on Jay Prince's show. That in order for you, and I'm going to use the man as an example because that's what we were talking about.
Right.
If he says, I'm the man. Okay, well, let's qualify that. What does a man do? Well, I'm the leader. Well, I'm the head. And then later, what do you find? He stepped into the wrong pile. And now he's got a woman pregnant, or now they've had a child. And he's trying to get this woman to understand who he is. You never started the relationship correctly in the first place. She, like I said, she's a bull in a china cabinet because people are not taking the time to learn each other. These are the principles, and principles cannot be changed. I know people say, well, this because your generation was like this or your generation was like that. No, sir, no, ma'am. A principle does not change, period.
And you know what?
I agree with that.
Because when I met my husband, right, I had been abstinent for 3.5 years, and I know that didn't matter to him. And it mattered to me because it mattered to me. So when I meet him, right, and he comes to my house, and the next day he comes with groceries. Now I'm like, we didn't cook. I didn't tell this man I knew how to cook or anything. But I took the bag of groceries and I cooked. But I don't know how he knew I could cook. So,
well, do you think maybe he was just anticipating because you were a female that you cook? Here, I'm going to give the blueprint. If anybody want to take the blueprint, I'm going to tell you. Hold on, Dr. J, I'm going to tell you this. I'm telling him, Dr. J, here's a little truth. Here's the blueprint. Try this blueprint and see if it works. If it doesn't, if this blueprint does not work, that's okay. Try something else.
With you, every woman is that. You know, some things don't fit everybody, but that fit me because I wanted to cook for him. Because remember what my aunt told me: don't cook for a man you don't want to keep. Well, I actually wanted
I think
to
the
keep
issue, hold on, Auntie J, let me say this. Let me add this. I think the issue goes back to what I even told younger women, and that is you have a lot of women right now today that have things mixed up because, as we've already labeled, society has helped them mix it up.
bad.
Women are acting like the man that they are courting or that's courting them or dating them is their husband. That's letter A.
I did
Not
that.
every single man that is in your life should be treated as a husband. And that goes as far as intimacy is concerned. What is the problem now with people where they think that you got to let somebody into your personal intimacy space? That to me is the most craziest thing. No one deserves that. Nobody, male or female. There are letter A, there's too many things going out there right now. You got diseases that are off the chain. You got stuff you're never gonna wash away with soap. All right. You got stuff that's resistant to penicillin. Not to mention the fact that right now we have an antibiotic shortage. Okay.
Okay.
You have people who do not understand that having intimacy with somebody is literally a marriage to that person. You are literally tying your body to that individual. What is the problem with our youth that we don't tell men, young men, and young women to value themselves? There's nothing wrong with putting value on yourself. Listen, we put value on cars. We put value on shoes. Matter of fact, a cat will fight you if you step on his shoes. In a club, if you step on his shoes at school, somebody gonna fight. But you don't put no value on your person. But we're not teaching children that it is okay to value yourself. You don't have to sleep with everybody. You ain't got to sleep with nobody. Learn who that person is before you let them into your, that is you. That's your very core. I say it all the time. The reason why that part of our body is hidden between our waist and our kneecaps up under clothing is because unlike our eyes and our ears, people don't require, it's not required to see it.
But girls with clothes now they show it. They show it. They show it. Females these days, they wear it where you can literally see their vagina print. You literally can see it. And I'm like, damn. So that lets me know that her self-esteem is not where it should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know what I think what Ronnie Man just said? He said here in the chat, he says biblical marriages were arranged. I think right now what we're going to be headed back to, especially in light of the fact that you don't know who's who and what's what anymore. That unless you see that child coming out and you monitor that kid all the way as they grow up, you know, I have a child, you know, Daryl has a child, and we know that this child is a little boy, we know it's a little girl. We already know. Okay, so we'll hook them up. We'll let them grow together. We'll let them learn together. If we're all of the same faith or we're all of the same mindset in our little camp or our little community or whatever, then these children will grow up together and they will all grow together and then they will get married. That's what we're headed to. And the reason why I say that's what we're headed to is because right now, what is happening where adults can listen, adults cannot even get their child a tattoo in the state of California without permission. You know, the child at under 18 cannot get a tattoo, but I think they did change the law, but I'm using it as an example. But you can go in Oregon and get a whole change. You can get a whole new set of plumbing. So if you can do that at 16 years old, who's to say what your child is marrying when they're 2021? We got to take control of our children. We got to take control. We have to set the standard. For those of us who know and those of us who do, it is a cop-out to say, oh, well, because social media is XYZ, these kids going to do what they want. Well, what part do you play in that? If you got little kids that's 8 and 9 and 10 years old, shame on you, shame on us for not imparting the value that child has. They have value. He has value. I think that people applaud little boys for having intimacy too young. And I think that they label girls as something else, but it all stinks. Every inch of it stinks. None of it is healthy. Why? You got adults who can't even handle having intimacy with somebody and waiting for them to call them the next day. So how you think a child gonna function? They don't even know how to spell their own name well. They don't even know how to write. They don't even know how to read past the 3rd or 4th grade level. And yet we are allowing children right now, that's going to be in 10 years, these girls that we're talking about, these boys that we're talking about right now, we're allowing them to make dangerous decisions based on what social media and the social construct that we're dealing with right now today tells them. Hey, Shaq. Go ahead.
Yeah. The old neighborhood I lived in, It was so sad, y'all. Her name was London. And she was 10 years old and pregnant. Her mother was pregnant too. And we was like, who the hell? But she was very shapely for a 10-year-old. So whoever she slept with at the time, we wondered. He had to tell him she was like 14. But we found out who she was sleeping with. And she has the baby, right? Brings the baby outside like it's a doll baby. One night her mom left her in the house with her baby and her little boy, the mom's little boy. Well, London gets up in the middle of the night to check her baby. Her baby's not breathing, so she, instead of her calling the ambulance, she called her mom. The mom was in a long way from home. So the baby subsequently passed away. And that was a very sad death because it just let me see that a child cannot take care of a child. Even though the child is in the biological state of being able to have a baby because she started her menstrual period, we see very well that a 10-year-old, 11-year-old cannot take care of a child. She will ride her bicycle and pass her baby on to the next person to hold it, one of her little 8-year-old, 9-year-old friends. And they was passing the baby on. The baby was so pretty. But when it came time for London to have to take care of her baby by herself, that was different for her. So what happened was they locked the mother up for, I forgot what the charge, but she did get locked up. But I wonder how Diamond is doing right now. She's about 20 years old right now. And I asked my daughter, I said, I wonder how Diamond is doing mentally. You know, knowing that her baby died when she was 11 years old. Did she ever get help? Well, her mother, in essence, sent Diamond out here to this great big world in that state of mind.
Well, you know what I think the issue is that a lot of parents these days are not even parents and they're not qualified to be parents. And that's what brings me to the next topic that I want to talk about. The other day I watched the interview with Anton, and it was an intriguing interview that he had with Dr. Phil. Letter A, I was very proud to see that he was on Dr. Phil. I was very happy to see that they had some YouTubers up there. Because now you got mainstream trying to get like YouTubers. Because we have to hustle a little more than they do. So they had both he and oh goodness, what is that? Peterson. I think that's his name.
I think it's Jesse Peterson.
The first name.
Jesse Peterson, I believe.
And there was a woman, the topic that they were talking about, and this is one of the topics that Anton had made, and he was saying that I don't believe that poor people should be allowed to have children. Now, I'm going to throw that topic out there, not necessarily throwing Anton out there, but I do want to deal with the topic because I believe that right now that is on a lot of Black folks' tongue right now. But I cannot help but bring up the fact that Margaret Sanger said the exact same thing. She said that poor people should not be allowed to breed. She had a whole entire platform that was steeped in Marxism that talked about that. And I want to ask you guys one by one, and let's start with Ronald, and then we'll go from there. We'll go over to Daryl all the way around. What do you guys think about the phrase that Margaret Sanger had where she basically said that the feeble, the weak, okay, the degenerates, the poor, all right? Basically, she was really talking about Black because that's what she said. And everybody in the chat knows that if they are familiar with her. What do you guys think about that topic? It's a loaded topic, but go ahead, Ron.
I could understand the that situation when it comes to like, there's certain people that shouldn't have children, like on the show, I think it's Jesse Peterson. He said he spoke about marriage, and me personally, I believe yes, you should get married first, then have children. You know, me and my wife has 3 children. All 3 of them were planned, right? So it's really crazy when I look out there and I see some single mothers with probably like 5 children, and they're not planned at all. It just happened, you know. And I'm like, how come me and my wife, we could sit down and plan a child, where somebody who's single that doesn't have a man to help them could just have babies like that. So it does sound cruel to tell somebody they can't have children, but you know, like, but if you can't be there to train your children up in the right direction, if eventually your child's gonna end up in jail or end up hurting somebody later on, you know, then there are certain people that shouldn't have children. You know, you should be a responsible adult, able to train those children up to be a valuable citizen of this country. You could go ahead, Long.
No, you're good. I just want to wait till you was done, but I understand the sentiment of it, right? Where we basically wanted to eliminate the system. That's really what it sounds like. The ultimate thing is we don't want people taking advantage of the system, right? And I think one of the arguments that Anton, for example, because I haven't heard too many people make this argument, but he made it on Dr. Phil. And he stated that the system and people in the middle class end up paying for those children, either one way or another, either through some kind of program or just paying taxes on the prisons, which I thought was crazy because that's a private business. It's not really, you know, but that's a whole different conversation, right? I think the conversation about money and children, it sounds like, what's the right word to use? A de-measuring contest, right? Because why are we not talking about, again, I'm gonna keep bringing it up, the 4th grade reading level? Can we start there? How can you have a group of young men that's supposed to succeed on any level if they can't even read, if they can't comprehend information, and then apply set information? That's why we go to college. We learn what we learn, and then we apply set information once we get out. Today, men are making it seem like it's all about money, but it's not. And it's clearly not. Right? What it's about is, do you have the mental wherewithal and financial wherewithal to raise that child? That's what I would really add in, because too many men in these spaces are telling boys, if you cry, you soft. If you cry, you weak. Don't express yourself ever. Just go get money. That sounds like the same thing the drug dealer would tell them, right? We got to really pour into our children more instead of just saying, if you're poor, you can't have kids. That's goofy, because we know that if let's say that actually happened today, half of society would be wiped away. Not just blacks, right? Fred Hampton had the Rainbow Coalition in Chicago, and it was made of poor blacks, poor whites. It's not just us. They give those children the same fucked up textbooks they give our children. So I think that's something that we need to really work on is the school systems, the leaders of every society that we are finding ourselves in, and then start there. Let's work on the curriculums. Let's work on the laws. For example, here we got the marijuana law changed. Not only can, if you're over 21, you can buy marijuana legally, smoke legally, but it got a lot of non-violent drug offenders to come home early, which was better because now they re-enter the economy. They go back to their families, right? Having them in prison did nothing for us. So I'm just saying, man, the whole money thing seems like a de-measuring contest because they leave it there when we know there's a lot of more areas that we must tackle. That's all I got to say about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Flow State.
So I'm frequently surprised at how many people are. I guess I haven't heard anyone suggest that poor people specifically shouldn't have kids, but I've heard a lot of people get behind the idea of like having to get a license to have kids or something like that. And it's constantly surprising to me how, like, what a terrible idea people support. Like, we can all see the issue. Everybody recognizes the issue, right? They're bad parents that don't take care of their kids. But it's like nobody thinks through what implementation of something like this would look like. And how basically, you know, your childbearing years is when you're not rich. I mean, just how do you enforce that? So what happens to poor people if a poor woman gets pregnant? Then what are you going to do with that?
I don't think there's a way to enforce it.
I mean, there is. They do it in China. It's forced abortion. They kidnap women, give them forced abortion, leave the fetus in a bucket laying next to the bed. It's brutal. But yeah, no, it's. I'm hugely opposed to any sort of restriction on having children. There's no way to enforce any of it. That doesn't just go straight into draconian tactics and what's the word I'm looking for? You know, like Bill Gates, where they want to control the breeding.
Eugenics.
That's it.
I agree.
But I guess the last thing is I would echo the sentiment that was just expressed about money is too big of a focus. I think that people need to stop focusing so much on money. There are other bigger things that might help with relationships, you know, for instance.
Auntie?
Well, when I was young, I used to say it all the time. I did, because I was going to work, and a lot of the women in my building were on the welfare. They were proudly on the welfare. Something we grew up talking about, they ended up on it. And when I'm young, yeah, if you can't feed the baby, then don't have the baby. However, now, looking back in hindsight 2020, there were a lot of poor people that had babies that are rich now. So I don't think we should limit who can have a baby, because that's the woman's body and she does get to choose. But I believe that every parent should have to take parenting classes for a period of time, and the father as well, whether he's in their life or not. So a parent can be prepared and know better what to do and how to do. If you have a baby before 25, your patience is limited, because that part of your brain has not formed yet. That's the last part that forms. And they can see the problem, and this was going to happen if I do this. So 25, it should be, a limit to when you can have a baby. I don't think you should be having babies at 12 and 13, 14 and 15, none of that.
You shouldn't be having sex at that time.
That's what I'm saying. Where is the perm? And again, in today's society, what I see more of where I am is parents are allowing the children to raise themselves. So no child, to me, at 5 years old, know how to go in the kitchen and prepare his own breakfast. At all. That's not cute to me. And so what if it is smart? That's the child doing what you're supposed to be doing. Parents. But parents don't want to take accountability for the shit they do or don't do. As the reason why their child is the way they are. And they wonder why their children talk to me. I happen to know your child because your child doesn't talk to you. They talk to me. And you wonder why. Yeah. And that's it. Well, yeah, I don't think you should have a baby to get on the welfare. This what they say in the hood. You can have a baby and get on the welfare and get that free money, girl. That's exactly what they say. As if that money isn't taxpayers' money. Yeah,
The way I feel about the topic is, and again, I'm taking the fact that I can juxtapose the statement itself to Margaret Sanger. And when I consider who she was, what she stood for, what she did, what she created, and what's still left here in the earth realm right now that she is responsible for, albeit I believe it was New York decided to remove her and any signs of her, I think it was New York, from their publications and everything else. They removed her from them so that they can continue doing what they're doing, because a lot of people have started to come out and talk about who she was and what she did. My thing is, why does man feel the necessity to play God, to play the creator? Why would we feel, as she did, that it's okay to say how many babies another human being can have? Irregardless of the social programs that we started, who gives man the right to say how many children you can and cannot have, hence China? How many children you should and should not have? Should you have any? Who decides what poor is? Who decides what the dollar amount is? There are dollar amounts that show you the national average of poverty.
Yeah.
What if that number raises up beyond the 25,000 for a family of 3 or 43,000 for a family of 4? What if that number goes to $100,000? What if they consider that poor? And what if somebody says, well, it is poor, but what if the number now is 100 grand?
I believe it is, Miss Lockhart, and I'm telling you why.
If we now have the number at $100,000, where does it stop?
I'm telling you,
we will push the number to $300,000 for a husband and a wife and a family of 5. $300,000, sir, madam, you are poor. You should have any kids.
Not a family of 5, Miss Lockhart.
Is that America has shifted in such a way that the old adage, right is wrong and wrong is right, has now become its epitaph. It's become what is going to be written on the headstone of America. Because as I say all the time, Babylon has fallen. Oh, she's fallen. Babylon has gotten to such a point where she's too big for her britches.
Yes.
Babylon is too big for her britches. So the merchants, the ships from afar off, we're going to look over and see her burning. Burning, burning, burning. And they're going to lament and wish that they remember how it was so great. Listen, that's a problem. She was a problem with that statement that she made. Several statements. I've done actual videos on Margaret Sanger and what she stood for and how she thought that with her disrespectful, demented mind, that she was going to enlist the help. This is what her and her organization said. We will enlist the help of the Black preacher, because these people won't listen to us, but rather they'll listen to their own. So she would go and get preachers in certain communities to convince those mothers not to have any more children, moreover, to rid them of the pregnancy.
And they didn't listen.
She was Planned Parenthood for pregnant folks. She was Planned Parenthood. She's the person who started Planned Parenthood. That's the reason why right now you got church, motel, liquor store, Planned Parenthood in every Black community. And yet we are the ones who stand and say that we don't want these kinds of things in our community. And now what has slipped in as a red herring within our community is a phrase like that poor people should not have children.
And I'm going to steal
every statement, especially when you are not so far from the history books of seeing exactly what Margaret Sanger did, what she talked about, what her philosophy was. She also made sure in one of the publications that she had. She also made sure that she said, we have to have Black doctors. This is what she said. We've got to get a Black doctor to convince them, because they're not going to listen to us, but they will listen to a Black doctor. So we got to get a Black doctor. And in one of the publications that I read, they had gotten a Black doctor in a couple of areas, one in particular. But what they wanted the clergy to do was to stand in the pulpit and tell these people that having these amount of children just not right. Let me tell you something. You can always tell who is from the opposition from the Father. The ones that are in opposition of the Father, Margaret Sanger, will always tell you to do opposite of what he says. Here's the litmus test. If you want to know what's right, what's wrong, here's the litmus test. What did he say? Go, be fruitful and multiply. How do I know it's the enemy? They're going to say the opposite.
Yeah.
That's how I know it's the enemy. That's how I know it's not him. Instead of us taking the time to teach the children how to live their lives, and like she just said, the parents need to teach the kids. How about the parents need to be taught how to be? The parents need to be taught how to be. You see, you got Ronald, he and his wife, married, children. They're raising their children correctly. That's the way that it should be. But that's not what we have anymore. We don't have that mindset anymore. So instead of putting the onus and the responsibility on the adult, the parents, the ones who lay down to procreate, we want to just say, take the bath water and the baby and throw them both out the window. No responsibility. There's no more responsibility. Do you see how easy that is? Now, social services has been here ever since that one president decided to enact it for the widows. And it was even then, it was a farce. It was not really for that. That's what they ended up saying it was for, so that they could do exactly what they're doing now, going into, because the plan has never changed. Okay, the wicked plan has never changed. So that they could eventually go into universal employment. That's the reason why you got all of these companies chunking and throwing jobs away. While we have all these distractions over here, they're firing 14,000, 16,000, 20,000 from very strong companies where people would have had retirement, 401k. They're getting rid of all of that. And the purpose of them getting rid of all of that is so that in tandem with this draconian mindset that they have, in tandem with them having this Marxist mentality, well, they can go on ahead and let you know that you don't need no more kids. So be fruitful and multiply. Husbands, love your wives. These are bad words now. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands. And likewise, you men, submit yourselves to your own wives. Wife, your body is not your own. Submit your body to your husband. Husband, submit your body to your wife. Your body is not your own. Submit yourself to one another, lest the other one spoil. See, these are the things that people don't want to hear because it sounds like churchianity. But if you remove the fact that these phrases I just used came from out of the Bible, they are principles. And principles don't change. Principles don't go nowhere. But what I tell you will happen is what will change. When we shade outside of what the principles are, we get what America is, and we get what America has become. I want to thank my panel tonight. It's been close to 2 hours now. And I just thank you guys for being here. For those of you who are still here, I thank you. Daryl Long said he'll be back. And thanks for allowing me on your platforms, Auntie J. Anytime, we'll be doing it again very soon. And I am so glad that you all are here. Black Spring with Autumn. Hello, sister. How are you? Kazi, thank you for keeping your word and coming on over and hanging out with us. And for everybody else who is here that has not made a comment, I thank you for watching. Before we leave, I'm going to give Flow State as well as Ronald the opportunity to make a comment before we leave.
You want to go first, Slow State?
I'm sure. I don't really have much to say. Just thanks for having me on again. And yeah, that was that thing you just said. There was a nice little wrap up. I think so. I think it's interesting that I find myself agreeing with basically everything that you say and that I hear on the panel here, and I'm not Christian. So.
And you know, we're not Christians. You know, as far as Christianity is concerned, I'm not that Roman thing. I'm not a Christian because I understand the essence of Christianity. I understand the origin of Christianity. I understand the pagan roots of Christianity. I really do. And everybody that's here, that's on the channel, that's been here for any length of time, as we, Ronnie, myself, and others have taught and have shown, we've gone in and we've shown you that, yes, the word of Yah, the Father, yeah, hold on to that. But when it comes to Rome, when it comes to the Vatican, I ain't got nothing to do with any of that. I throw all of that out. And whenever you consider what they created in Christianity, because as I've always stated and I've always documented and shown, that the Vatican in the Vatican City, which is its own country, which has an actual wall, go figure, that they don't even want us to have, but that's another story for another day. They are the ones who actually created the whole leadership mindset. And that's the reason why people are so messed up now, because their personal relationship with a creator, okay, is a lot different than what they were told you have to do. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. You got to do one thing, and that is just keep his commandments. Show love. That's it. That's all he says. Keep his commandments.
That's why they had the Protestant Revolution, because people started reading the Bible themselves and said, "Oh, we don't have to go to a pope, or we don't have to go to, a priest and confess our sins. We could just go straight to Jesus Christ Himself."
More Protestant just seems like it's Catholic light, though.
You see what I'm saying? Let me tell you. Listen, this will be another conversation for another day, and we have many teachings here on this channel. If you just go thumb through our playlist, you'll find something for everybody. But I'm going to say this to agree with what you're saying. You are right on the right track. You are on the right track. We don't need to go into a little cubicle and see a little cat. But here's the thing. Those little cubicle cats, they claim the Christianity word. But we like to break it up and separate it so that we can digest it a little easier. Because we don't want to believe that we've been duped by some cats with them cute little miter hats that he just had on. So I appreciate all of you guys for being here. I thank you so much. I've kept everybody too, long as it is. You guys, please make sure that you come back and see us. We'll do this often, and I hope that you guys will all come back. If you all don't have anything more to add, I'm going to go on ahead and close out. But you guys continue to be blessed, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
I want you guys to remember what we always say here on any Lockhart publication, and that is that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the Most High's mouth. What comes out of his mouth, that's it. I want you guys to take care of yourselves. Then you'll be able to take care of other people inevitably. And then before we run out of time, I want to tell you this. Until we see each other again, I want you to continue to be blessed. Thank you for being here. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.
Helping you along the way, helping you to make it through another day.